A single low piano chord. Slow breath. You wake as if from a long, comfortable sleep and find yourself sitting in the dark of a theater after the crowd has left. The screens have gone black. Somewhere in the street outside, a distant tram passes like a metronome. There is a small lantern at your feet. Its flame is not loud, it does not demand. It asks only that you guard its light. If you can, stay with me through this. Listen until the end, and if you find these reflections steadying, consider subscribing so we can sit together again. There is a way that clarity arrives, not as a trumpet, but as a rearrangement of furniture inside you. Rooms you once filled with noise are suddenly quieter. The parts of yourself that had been performing take a hesitant half-step back. This shift is small and enormous at once. As it happens, the world you used to fit into will try, with the gentlest of hands and the heaviest of habits, to pull you back into old scripts. For the sake of your lantern, there are 5 kinds of people you will learn to steer clear of. Not from malice, not from pride, but from a kind and pragmatic tenderness toward your own edge. I name them plainly. Then I show you how to meet them with compassion and how to keep distance without becoming a fortress. The sleeper. You will know them by the way they pat your shoulder and tell you, fondly, that you are imagining things. Their voice is warm, a sofa in human form. They speak in steadying phrases. That's just a phase. You're overthinking. We all get carried away. In a crowded kitchen, they will laugh and pour another cup of tea as if the light you notice is a draft. Physically, you feel them as a smoothing pressure across your chest. A suggestion to relax into the old patterns, the old job, the old jokes, the old small compromises that keep the house intact. Their motive is safety, fear that your new posture will unsettle the collective furniture. The risk is small at first. A conversation that leaves you confused, a friend whose tone makes the lantern flicker. Left unguarded, the sleeper's steady hand can tuck the flame under a shadowed lid until you forget you were awake. What to do? Bow inward first. Speak softly. Try a phrase that holds both steady ground and a closed door. I hear you, and I'm asking for a little room. If they keep insisting, choose silence as your ally. Practice the small art of walking back into your body. Notice the weight of your feet, the rhythm of the exhale. You do not need to argue them into awakening. Protect the flame by refusing to be shushed into sleep. The performer of spirituality. You meet them in a cafe where everyone is comparing pilgrimages,
or at gatherings where the robe is newer than the practice. They speak in polished phrases that glitter. I surrendered. I vibrate at a higher frequency. Let me show you what freed me. Their voice is bright, theatrical. You can hear applause beneath their sentences, even when no one claps. Sensory clues, an unnaturally steady smile, stories that tilt toward the dramatic, a constant tilt toward being seen. They borrow the language of openness while sowing seams of admiration and competition. Their drive is image, to be admired for having become luminous. Around you, they create a marketplace of spiritual selves where your new silence looks like a gap on their stage. The danger is seductive. You may feel flattered, then drained. You may start to perform your awakening because it is easier to be admired than to be lonely in clarity. The response is twofold. First, cultivate curiosity tempered with reserve. Ask one simple question and then hold the silence. That's interesting. What did that feel like for you? Then keep the boundaries specific. Limit the stage time you give them. You might say, I appreciate your story, but I need someone who sits with the ordinary. Offer a compassionate nod, a short-lived smile, and then return to the lantern. Do not confuse the warmth of applause with the warmth of the light you keep within. The emotional vampire. You will feel them before you name them. A tug at the center of your chest, a slow siphoning that leaves you thinking of cotton and wrongness. They are not always dramatic. Often they are intimate and urgent. They call at odd hours, collapse on your doorstep with laundry unsorted, or send messages that cascade like small storms. Sensory signs include a tight jaw, the sudden heaviness at the base of your skull, a mind that begins to revolve around solutions you did not intend to invent. Their motive is need, sometimes woundedness, sometimes a pattern of reliance. This category deserves the most tenderness in our counsel, because need can be a raw and ongoing condition. Distinguish between crisis and chronic drain. If someone is in acute danger, your first move should be to help them locate a professional that can hold that intensity. Do not take the whole night upon your shoulders. For repetitive drains, practice the gentle no. Say, "I can't hold that right now," and then enact distance that is practical and predictable. Set time limits, choose phone calls over house visits, schedule check-ins that do not become rescue missions. Anchor your refusal in compassion. "I care about you. I also need to keep my attention lit." Teach them the boundary through consistency. Your steadiness is a gift that models containment rather than abandonment. The rational cynic. Their language is cool and precise. Their gift is to unmask foolishness. They will parse your metaphors and hand you a list of counterexamples. In the marketplace of ideas, they are the one with
a neat briefcase of arguments, a smirk ready at the corner of a proposition. You detect them by a sudden contraction behind the eyes of anyone nearby when wonder arises, an involuntary squint that replaces openness with analysis. The scent of coffee goes stale. Laughter loses its tilt. Their motive is intellectual safety. If everything can be explained away, then nothing can threaten their system. The harm they do is often subtle. Wonder retreats in their presence because it seems lazy or unrigorous. Awe becomes a thing to be diagnosed instead of lived. When you meet the cynic, do not attempt to melt them with slogans. Offer instead a short experiential return. Name a bodily detail. "My chest feels wide right now," and let them witness the fact without argument. If they press with analysis, practice a soft refusal. "I respect your view. Right now, I'm sharing what feels true to me." If their cynicism becomes corrosive, distance yourself from debate that seeks to convert rather than understand. Keep the lantern lit by placing your attention in sensation and mystery, not in the arena of proving. The rescuer of souls. They arrive with a map and a key and a tone that implies you are, in some essential way, missing. They have solutions pre-packaged, courses, retreats, books with neat subheadings. They believe in the transformation of others as a project, and they will invite you into mentorship that often feels like being placed on a stage. They're recognizers, frequent offers of help you did not ask for, a language of obligation disguised as care, the way conversation loops inevitably back to their methods. Their need is to be needed. Their identity often depends on the role of savior. The hazard is twofold. You may be stripped of agency, and your awakening may be reframed as something incomplete or in need of fixing. Meet them with gratitude for their concern, then name your autonomy. "I appreciate your offer. I'm working in my own pace." When offers persist, convert them into boundaried offerings. Accept reading lists but refuse curricula. Accept an occasional talk but refuse enrollment in a course. If the rescuer persists into coercion, recognize the pattern as a misuse of power. Seek companionship instead, someone who practices alongside you rather than prescribing. Across all five, practice a particular sentence that holds. "I care, but I need a little distance to keep my clarity." Repeat it aloud until it becomes a muscle memory. Repeat it to friends. Repeat it in the mirror. A small vignette may help. You are at a kitchen table that smells faintly of lemon and coffee grounds. A friend, the performer, begins to tell a story about their morning ritual that spirals quickly into an offer to teach you, to enroll you, to publicize your progress. Your body leans away before your mouth does. You feel a tilt in the ribs, a tiny alarm. You lay your calm on the table, grounding. "Thank you," you say. "Not now." It is not dramatic. Is true. It preserves your attention for the people who stay. There will be guilt. Guilt is a faithful shadow after any refusal. It will present itself in the voice of the sleeper. You used to be kinder. In the performer, you're being ungrateful. In the vampire, who will help me if not you? Let guilt become an object you observe, a small paper lantern in the street. Watch it, and then let it float away. Guilt is often not a moral adjudicator, but a weather pattern. Sometimes it rains, and you carry an umbrella. Practical scaffolding helps. Make a list, mentally, quietly, of 3 names who, when you speak, do not ask you to perform. Keep their contact handy. Give yourself scheduled solitude, a walk, a cup held without answering a phone. Say no in the smallest unit possible. I can't tonight. I need a pause. I will join later if I can. These micro-acts accumulate into an ecosystem of attention that protects the lantern. When someone is in clear crisis, talks of harm to self or others, exhibits severe disorientation, move compassion into action, encourage professional help, call a trusted support, or, if necessary, contact emergency services. Steering clear of draining patterns is not an excuse for leaving someone in danger. The ethic here is clear. Protect your light while being a steady channel to appropriate care. The climax of this work is not a confrontation, but a reorientation. You will find, in time, that you no longer need to explain your quiet. The theater will still have seats, the city will still hum, and the tram will pass on schedule. Your lantern will sit on the small table by the door. You will know when to sit with someone, when to stand at a distance, and when to close the door for the night. This is not isolation, it is stewardship. Before we move on, take a breath with me. Inhale slow, count 4. Hold for 2. Exhale long, count 6. Feel the body settle. Notice the lantern's small steadiness. Notice the thin line between compassion and self-abandonment. Practice naming that line when it appears. There are sentences you can rehearse for each type, small tools to carry in your pocket. For the sleeper, I need to hold this for a moment. For the performer, I hear you, I'm choosing quiet now. For the vampire, I care about you and I also need boundaries to stay well. For the cynic, I know that's your take. Right now, I'm sharing my experience. For the rescuer, thank you, but I'm not looking for a fix. This course of action, these small refusals and gentle removals, are not a claim of moral superiority. They are acts of care. The lantern is not fragile because you are brittle. It is precious because it lights the narrow way through the dark. When you protect it, you do so for others as well. Your clarity becomes a lighthouse, not a barricade. People who truly value your light will learn to move at your pace. Those who cannot will inevitably reveal themselves. Let them go with a farewell that is soft and true. We may think of Alan Watts here, not as a creed, but as a voice that once coaxed a room to listen to paradox and laugh into silence. Imagine that voice leaning close and saying, with a small grin, that life is a play in which sometimes the wisest thing is to leave the stage when the script demands your undoing. Take that permission and let it settle into your bones. Keep practicing the tiny refusals. Keep a lantern in your pocket, literally or figuratively, and check it each morning. When a conversation arises that would dim it, try the simple relocation. Step outside into air, feel the spine lengthen, speak your line, and then move on. Notice how the world rearranges when you no longer perform the role expected of you. You will find companionship in unexpected places. The person who notices the quiet in your eyes, the neighbor who brings tea without questions, the stranger who sits with the ordinary. There is a final practice to hold. Imagine a market at dusk. Stalls call their wares. Some sellers shout, some whisper. Walk through with your lantern lifted. Notice the moths. Notice the masks. Smile at them. Do not feed the ones that would burn you. Carry instead an openness that is steady and contained. If asked why you walk alone, say simply, I am walking with a light. When you are ready, breathe in again.
Slow, attentive. Let the breath remind you that protection is not persecution, it is preservation. Hold the image of the small flame and let it be the measure of your yes and your no. A final small practice. Each evening, set the lantern where you can see it, touch its flame, and whisper one honest yes and one honest no. Let that tiny ritual teach you what to keep and what to release. Walk on with the light. Keep the rituals small. They are not performances for others, they are calibrations for you. Each morning, answer 3 questions before your feet hit the floor. What do I need to say yes to today? What must I say no to? What will I carry that honors both my rhythm and my duties? Write the answers if you like, on a scrap of paper, in the margin of a notebook, on the back of a receipt. The act of writing makes the boundary real. When a person asks for more than you can give, practice phrases that are both true and kind. Try, I can't be fully present right now, and I want to be honest about that. Or, I care, and I have to tend something that requires my full attention. These are not refusals dressed as courtesy. They are, rather, the simplest possible translations of your limits into. Delivered calmly and repeatedly, they become a grammar for your life. Remember that boundaries have seasons. There will be times you widen the circle, when trust is high and your reserves are generous, and times you narrow it, when grief, illness, or overwhelm make the lantern flicker. Neither season is a moral failing. Both are weather. Let memory store the evidence. The nights you held someone and did not break. The mornings you rose to your work and kept your glow. These memories will teach you that stewardship can be fierce and gentle at once. Practice the small rituals of recharging. When your shoulders tighten, take 3 breaths where the exhale is longer than the inhale. When your thoughts loop into self-reproach, name one kindness you did in the last 24 hours, however small. If the world asks you to perform pity or apology as currency, refuse the transaction. Offer instead a plain, human exchange, attention, or an honest statement of what you can do. Over time, others will learn your exchange rate and come to value it. There will be losses. Some people will choose the noise over the flame. Some relationships will cool because your pace no longer matches theirs. Say a farewell that contains gratitude. You do not need to harden. You only need to catalog with compassion. Speak the truth. I am grateful for what we had. I cannot travel the same road now. Let that sentence be a bridge that closes softly, not a wound that festers. Cultivate a small commonwealth of consolation. These are the ordinary things that refill your lantern. A neighbor's loaf of bread, a song that returns the edges to your voice, the careful ritual of tea made for one, the dog that asks for nothing but presence. Make a list of 24 tiny, available comforts that require minimal energy. When the lantern dims, choose one. The choice itself begins the work of repair. Teach your inner critic to be a steward, not a tyrant. When it speaks, ask whether its counsel protects the flame or punishes it. If it is punitive, thank it for trying and decline its advice. If it is protective, listen and negotiate. You do not need to be free of doubt. You need to be able to do the work of saying yes to the things that align with what you most want to protect. There will be days when the lantern seems to gutter despite everything. On those days, lower the bar. Give yourself permission to do less, to cancel plans, to sleep in, to eat something plain and nourishing. Call someone whose presence is steady and tell them simply, I'm having a small storm. Let them bring the ordinary warmth of being known. If you must ask for professional help, therapy, medical attention, crisis support, do so without shame. Stewardship sometimes means recruiting help. Finally, imagine the lantern as a covenant rather than a possession. It binds you to certain practices and to certain priorities.
People. It asks you to tend it, but it also promises return. clearer judgments, less resentment, a capacity for love that is not desperate or draining. The more faithfully you tend it, the more your light performs a quiet work in the world. It illuminates paths for others who are learning to carry their own. When the sky turns and the evening spreads like a deep cloth over the city, set the lantern where its glow can be seen from the street. Let it be a small sign to any passerby: someone here takes the keeping of light seriously. The sign is not a summons nor a boast. It is an invitation for those who are ready to walk with their own flame. Breathe now, slowly. Place a hand over your heart and say aloud, if it feels right, one honest yes and one honest no. Let those words settle into your bones. When you stand to go, take the lantern. Walk with the pace you choose. There is no need to hurry. There is no need to explain. Walk on with the light.